So I thought I'd do a second video. This would be just a quick video to talk through some of the design details of this. And part of the reason for doing a short separate video on this without any coding is to again maybe try and illustrate what I see as the separation of the design process from the implementation process. So we can reason about the design without coding. And for that, I just wanted to describe a few of the sort of next steps as I would see it with this little kind of user API example. So just to recap, we started off with writing some tests, writing some sort of TDD, just writing some basic Mocha tests, used that to kind of drive the design of a user API class that contained a register function, a login function and a get_about function. And as we kind of went through that, the failings in that required us to implement further functionality, which included persistence. And the persistence was just kind of an in-memory array of users and logins within this class. And then having kind of got the test passing, then kind of basically tried to kind of improve the design there by separating out the kind of user database kind of persistence piece and the session database persistence piece, and all I did there was kind of derive a kind of a fake user database and a fake user session within the sort of test context, so that I could then kind of extract it from the user API. So two of the next things that I would do on this, one which I've done before and one which I think I've been quite lazy about in the past, so it's going to be quite interesting to go to do that. One is I'm going to implement an actual user database and user session DB. I'm going to add a real implementation to kind of illustrate that we can, having kind of derived this in a sort of what feels like a theoretical kind of world because it's just the test environment. I want to sort of show how we can now use the interfaces that have been defined to create real implementations, again via TDD, which we can then use in a real application. And obviously, in order to implement this as a real application, I need to provide some form of kind of interface that we can interact with this. So the last piece of that puzzle is to create something. So I'll probably implement something like an Express kind of web front end, and what I'll then do is create an adapter to connect Express to this user API. And that's the bit which I don't think I've kind of TDD'd that in the past. I think I've been quite lazy about kind of doing that. But I'm going to try and TDD an adapter and it'll probably start off being something that's perhaps relatively specific to this. And I'm going to see if a game can use TDD to derive a more generalized example, perhaps using generic data types. So they're going to be kind of two things to do there. And then the last couple of things I would mention on the design of this user API class. When I look at this, there are two things that I don't like about this. Actually, you could say there's probably three things I don't like about this. One is the fact that we're comparing. I say we, like there's some sort of shared responsibility here. I am comparing the passwords here in just plain text. So I've got a password here, I've got a password here, and just comparing those. If I'm going to compare passwords, then it seems to me that it would be better to hash those passwords. And one of the things that I could do there is just implement the hashing functionality within the user API class, and I'll probably do that as the starting point for this, just because that's the most obvious way to get that implemented, possibly. But ultimately, I think that what I would want to do is delegate the processing of that password to some sort of external entity. some sort of external class thing, some dependency that I would inject in to say here is the thing that takes care of doing magic with passwords, so that I don't have to care about that, and then that becomes then something which can be tested independently, and I'll talk a bit more about that when we kind of get to that, because it's an interest for me. That's quite an interesting point about the where we draw kind of component boundaries within the architecture. And then the last thing on a similar kind of path, at the moment when I create a session here, I'm just kind of adding sending the user ID into the session database, and then whatever I return back from that, I'm kind of returning that back to the user. And I kind of feel like that what I should probably be doing is doing something like, generating creating a JWT and kind of adding the session ID into the JWT and returning that, so that I can get all the benefits of the JWT. I didn't do that with this because I didn't want to have to kind of worry about stuff like that. And again, that's something which I could implement directly into here, and I possibly will do for a start off, the same as I would do with the hashing. But ultimately, I kind of think again that's something which I would probably want to delegate out. It's probably not the responsibility of this class to reason about JWTs. So I feel like I can probably use this, and I can probably keep the tests to kind of do this. So yeah, they will be the things that I'll probably look at doing next. So I guess there are 4 kind of big kind of bits there. One is implementing a real persistence layer, if you like. One is the second one is implementing the connection to an express front end, so that we can actually run the thing and show that this thing, which has only ever been written in a test environment, can actually be used in a real environment. Third thing is to clean up and improve the handling of passwords, and the fourth thing is clean up and improve how we what information we return back to a user in response to a login request, and then how that will obviously then be used in the get about thing here for that. So yeah, that's that. I hope that's been kind of useful in terms of the thought process behind this. So no code, just thinking about the design of it, and then I'll kind of come back and do a bit more coding afterwards.